we're dealing with sin nature. Everybody who has a child knows that they're born with a sin nature, because after mama, the next word they learn is no.
Hey everyone, this is Yvette Hampton. Welcome back to the Schoolhouse Rocked Podcast. I am back this morning with Sherri Seligson, and we are talking this week about the power of words for our children. How do we relate to our kids with our words, with our actions, with our expressions, with our body language, all of the things that make us as a person, and how we communicate with them? What does that tell our children about who they are, about who we are, and how do we foster a really good, positive relationship by building up our kids with our words? But first, I want to thank our sponsor, CTC Math. I am grateful for CTC Math because, as you know, I am not a big mathy person. I don't love math, but the people at CTC Math do love math. And so they've created this amazing curriculum for you and for me. Go to ctcmath.com. It's an online program that you can go to and try it out for free. See if it's a good fit for your family. ctcmath.com. So Sherri's with us this week, and it's funny. I brought her in for episode 1, and I didn't even let her introduce herself. We just started talking about words. Apparently, I have a lot of words this week. So Sherri, tell us a little bit about you and who you are, what you do, and your family.
Okay, I have 4 children. My husband and I have 4 children. We homeschooled them kindergarten through 12th grade, and they're now all graduated and doing various careers. And it's been a joy to watch them go through that process. I worked as a marine biologist before we had children at Walt Disney World, and loved science, loved teaching science. When you get known as a person who loves science in the homeschool community, everybody's like, "Well, you teach my children."
Right.
And so it just kind of happened. I began to teach co-ops, and now I write curriculum for Apologia Educational Ministries, multiple curricula, and then I do instructional videos for their upper middle school and high school courses, teaching kids everything, including the experiments. We go places all over the world to video what the science is that we're talking about, so children can see and learn. And so I love to do that. I love encouraging moms. And so now I write and I speak, and I love my family. So that is what I do right now.
That is awesome. Well, you are a great encouragement to me, and I know so many others. You've been on the homeschool conference speaking circuit for quite some time. And so I know many people already know who you are, and that's exciting. You're one of those homeschool celebrities. And so it's fun to get to have you on the podcast with me. As we're talking about words, we talked in the first episode about how our words can negatively affect our kids and how we can build our kids up. I want to take it a little bit further. And as we're talking about this, what about kids who are just disengaged when we're trying to talk with them, and, we're speaking words to them, and we're speaking them kindly, but they're just completely disengaged. They're not hearing anything that we're saying. And so I find oftentimes that moms will feel like they need to maybe raise their voice in order to be heard, or, somehow, get right in front of their faces or something. Like, moms are like, how do I get through to this kid who's just not listening to the things that I'm saying? Or they hear it, they can repeat it, but then it just goes in one ear and out the other. How do we communicate with those kids?
That's a big topic. But there are certain things that we can do to try to get into their world. This particularly happens as they're transitioning through middle school to high school. They're maturing, their body's changing, their emotions are all over the place, boys and girls. And they're trying to figure out who they are. Even their faith. They are transitioning from riding on mom and dad's faith to owning their own faith. And so they're questioning things. And sometimes they'll ask really, really hard questions, and I don't know the answer. And so we have to learn it together, and we approach it together. It's okay to say, I don't know. But when they're disengaged, I think they're trying to be their own person, and they don't know how to do that in our household. We kind of talked a little bit about that the last session. I think one thing we need to do is to get on their level. And the example I like to use is when you're talking to a 3-year-old. 3-year-old comes up, let's say a neighbor's 3-year-old, and they want to tell you something. First thing you do is squat down at eye level, right? You get on their level, and you communicate better face to face. And that's kind of metaphorically what I'm saying. So we want to get into their world. We want to know how they click. We want to know what their likes are, their dislikes, and ask them questions about it. So I'm gonna use another example that's not video games, but you can use insert video games because that's often the place where we see our children and we can't engage with them. One of my children absolutely loved music, and we saw his giftedness, and he wanted to get into music. And people were like, "Oh, you guys know science and math, you and your husband, and so you're going to teach your kids, and you're going to connect with all your kids, and it's going to be great." I'm like, God in His wisdom gave us this creative, this
Uh-huh.
not just outside the box, but outside the house, outside the city. He's
Right.
super creative. And we knew he had a giftedness and loved music, and he actually majored in music. And I didn't understand his world. I didn't know, he's talking all these genres and things and plays instruments and played beautifully. And so I started asking him questions about what he loved. And he started telling me about it. And he's also our video game lover too. And so he'd be playing a video game. And what is it that you like about this video game? Is it sometimes it's the cinematography, sometimes it's the fact that they're playing as a team, and so whatever it is, the puzzles. And so ask them questions about what they love. Start showing an interest in them. Again, this is, like I said last time, this is about relationships.
Yeah.
We want to come alongside our children and love them, and not just love them because they're our children. We want to love them for who they are. God made them very uniquely and not like us in many cases. And so oftentimes they're disengaged because they don't get us. If you're an extrovert and you have an introvert child, that's going to be an instant complication. You're like, why aren't you wanting to do this with me? Why aren't you wanting to go here? And it's exhausting for them to be around people. So when they are around people, if you know that they're an introvert, they need to have some alone time to recharge, not because they don't want to be with you, but they need to recharge.
Right.
And those who are extroverts need to be with people. And so they get recharged by being around people. That's just one small example about who our kids are. So we want to be students of our children in the fact that we
Yeah.
want to learn about how God made them, because the personalities, the abilities, the strengths, the skills, the weaknesses are unique to them for the purposes He has for them in the future. And you may not see it right away. I have such a blessing of having a little bit of perspective now, looking back at where my kids were and what they were doing and the things that frustrated me, the differences of personalities, the differences of likes and different, and seeing how, oh God, you're using that for this. Oh, this is helping them here or there. Even learning issues, learning disabilities. Some of my kids we have 4 kids. We have many different learning issues, processing issues. And I see how those benefited them now, looking back. And they disengage for a lot of reasons. They can be angry about something and you don't know it. And so pestering is going to make them just draw more inward.
Right.
So we need to slowly engage them in areas that are um, not barrier areas. Just I want to know what you're doing and what you love, and tell me more about it. And when they tell you, listen. Look for ways you can engage with them. So this is not when the clash happens. This is before and after those clashes happen, so that they are more willing to open up to you.
Mhm.
Share your heart to them too. Share struggles. That's something that my husband and I learned later on. We don't want to appear perfect to our children.
Yeah.
And the more we continue to guide them and shepherd them and encourage them, no, this is not how you do it. This is how you do it. No, they think we know it all and we figured it out. It is so important to share our struggles with them, not like opening up dirty laundry, but I'm really struggling to have a good prayer time. What do you think I should do? Or I have this, when every time I'm around this person, I tend to blurt out something. I mean, whatever it is that we're struggling with, it could be a struggle with too much time on the screen. I'm spending too much time on Facebook. I don't like this. What do I do? You have suggestions? Get their opinion.
Yeah.
That shows them that we're still works in progress too.
Yeah.
And so that transparency bonds them a little bit more to us, and they know we're for them. We trust them. We love them, and it helps pull them out of that disengagedness. We want to pursue them, and it happens. That's something I believe that we as the church need to be more aware of. That as parents, we are afraid to open up to other families that we're struggling with our children, that we're having issues. And you don't have, again, not to air dirty laundry, but to be vague and yet in a transparent way. What do? I have a child who's doing this and I don't know what to do. You don't have to say which one, but we shouldn't be embarrassed to share in a safe place. And
Yeah.
we should be for other families so that we can come alongside and pray for one another and encourage one another, because this is the thing. This happens. Our kids can become disengaged. They can live in worlds we don't know. And as the world is changing so rapidly, and technology is now not just a possible thing, but it's almost a requirement in many households because everything is virtual now.
Right.
And so we have to face it, and we have to approach it in a good way, and we have to attack it in a way that we can be healthy through using these tools that we have, and have the conversations with our kids. We're dealing with sin nature. Everybody who has a child knows that they're born with a sin nature, because after mama, the next word they learn is no or mine. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a selfish thing. And we are training them from that first day. And so we have to realize all of us have a sin nature, each of us, and we have to be transparent and say, I need prayer. I need help, please. And know that we need to be for someone who opens us up to us like that. And in the same way in our households as well. Our disengaged children need to follow family guidelines. There's going to be hard and fast guidelines that have, consequences. Those are hard. God's given us as protectors over our children. So those have to be there. But we need to consider the uniqueness of the kids and help them to navigate this transition to adulthood, that in a safe confines of our family, our household, our community, where
Yeah.
the stakes aren't as high, so that they're prepared for adulthood, and future being parents themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That is such great input. The two things that I really pulled out of that are, one, to become students of our kids, which we know. And again, you mentioned this in the first episode, that homeschooling gives us such an advantage when it comes to our kids. And this is one of the areas that we really do have a great advantage, is we get to be the best students of our children, because we get to learn who they are and all their quirks and their weaknesses and their strengths and everything that makes up who they are as people. We know them better than anyone. Even our kids who are disengaged, mom and dad know them better than anyone else, because we're the ones who are with them, but then also to pursue our kids. And I think that that's so important. I think sometimes when our kids are disengaged, it's easy for us to just be like, you know what, it's fine, whatever. You do you, I'll do me. You go off to your room and do your thing, and I'll do my thing. And, we'll come together for mealtime. And that's not good.
Cohabitation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not living as a body or a family.
Right.
No.
Right.
And
Exactly.
it can be, let's all go to our respective corners for a while, but we need to come
Sure.
back, because there's that we don't want them, and we don't want to follow them and say, no, wait, no, you can't leave, no, you can't leave,
Right.
stay here, stay here,
Yeah.
because we can pester them and pepper them with words so much
Right.
that overwhelms.
Right.
Again, especially if you've got an introvert. So
Right.
we need to consider that. It takes
Yeah.
prayer. It takes
Sure.
being on our knees.
Yeah. Oh, doesn't all of parenting. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
What we do at IEW is break through the noise of the grammar and the writing prompts, and we say, this is what you do, step by step. And I've witnessed it over and over again, both watching Andrew teach and hearing from parents, this is the best writing program. We've made it so easy and made it really affordable. So any mom can teach writing to their children using our course, and we guarantee it.
To try 3 weeks of free lessons, visit IEW.com. We are back with Sherri. That is such great encouragement. I love just being reminded once again of why we do what we do and the advantages that we have as homeschool parents. I want to talk about another kind of words when it comes to our kids, and talk about the person who has a lot of words. And I want to talk about this on both ends, because there are people who just have a lot of words that they need to use up. I forget what the number is, but everyone has I don't know, 400,000 words in a day, that they need to get out, that the average person, I guess. But some people, it seems like they have 4 million words, and then other people have 400 words. And I have a child who loves to talk, and I love hearing her talk, and I love talking with her, and she is such a delight. But sometimes I just have to say, you know what, honey, we did it today. As a matter of fact, it was lunchtime and she was just talking, 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 talking. And I just say, you know what, honey, for 5 minutes, I want you to practice silence. And she responds so well to it. I mean, she'll just say, okay. And so for 5 minutes, she was just quiet and she didn't say anything. And then she realizes like, okay, I am talking too much. And she'll ask me sometimes, am I talking too much? Yes, honey, you are. Let's cut down on the words. But sometimes mom is the one who has a lot of words. And when it comes to speaking with our kids, and you talked a little bit about this for the child who's the introvert, we can just go on and on and on and on and just talk nonstop to where our kids are just like, please be quiet. So can we talk about kind of both ends of that, the kid who talks too much and the parent who talks too much?
Yeah, I identify with those experiences. We have a similar word lover in our household who was constantly chatting and chatting and chatting, and the others were not. And it got frustrating. And I kept coming up with James 1:19, be quick to listen, slow to speak. And so we tried to encourage that we want to have as much time in our conversation listening as we do talking. Because if all you're doing is talking, then you're not hearing the other person and you're actually shutting them out. And so we tried to go back to those basic principles that they can follow, understanding their love to talk and allowing them, just like you said, 5 minutes and then talk again. Let's talk again and catch up. But understanding each other's differences, each other's uniqueness. We tried to tell the others, understand the uniqueness of this one. Understand that they're wired this way. And God's going to use that skill.
Absolutely.
That's a skill.
Yes.
That for their future. And sure enough, I'm thinking about it right now. That child as an adult is doing something where words, and a lot of words, are really, really important in their career. And so he made this child that way. And so we have to first appreciate that. And mom and dad, if one of you were like that, he made you that way for whatever good purposes he has. But if we're the ones who are doing lots of words, we need to remind ourselves to do as much listening as we are speaking, so that we are telling the other person, you matter to me. And I want to hear your story. I want to hear what you have to say because you're important too. If we overwhelm and do so much, then we're ignoring them.
Yeah.
So it's a balance, and it takes time and it takes training. I still need training. I'm not one of the ones that speaks a lot of words. I don't say enough in our household. I'm the quiet one. And so I have to learn to start communicating. Oh, I haven't talked to this child today. I need to start, if they're not talking and I'm not talking, I'll just get my little world and do my little things.
Yeah.
And so you have to identify, these are areas, okay, to build a relationship, I've got to connect. And so I've got to listen to them and I got to talk to them. And if you're the parent who does tons of talking, then talk to them purposefully and specifically, but then hear them, ask them questions. Don't pepper them with questions, but ask them questions so that they can then join your conversation.
Yeah.
So that you're not just talking at them as one-sided. I think one of the cool things another cool thing, there are so many about homeschooling, is when we want to have quality time with our children. And really, you can't have good quality time without quantity time. Because those important conversations happen during the course of your day. Right. You might be reading something from history and reading about it, and all of a sudden one of the kids will pose this really deep question that you can tell is personal. And you can say, book, go aside here, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
We have the time. Here's an important point. I used to try to set and these are good to do, have little dates with your children individually and have some tea or whatever, or take them someplace. And conversation can happen there, which is great because there's fewer distractions. But I started feeling like I would say, okay, we're at our quality time now. We got our ice cream. We want to talk. Go. And I would say that to them. They'd look at me like with this blank stare.
Right. What are we supposed to talk about?
I have nothing to say right now. I mean, you could tell. And I would be like pulling it out of them and trying to get them, and realizing sometimes we would just sit and enjoy being together. And I was feeling defeated. And I realized I can't make those quality times happen. I can enjoy the process. And because we're with them so much, we have the opportunity to grab the quality times when they happen and have those communications and have those deep conversations And feel free, mom and dad, to say, I don't know. That's a hard one. Let's find out, or let's pray about this, or, I want to know, just it's important to you, it's important to me.
Yeah.
Again, there's that relationship, but it's using our words, and it's by listening, which helps the loquacious ones, the ones who like to use lots of words, to know that they're being heard,
Mhm.
and they need to hear as well. It's a two-way
Right.
communication is two ways. So they can say there are 500 words in one sentence and hear your 10, as long as they're giving some time for the seesaw to go a little bit back and
Yeah.
forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great stuff. I tell my girls all the time, especially the one who likes to talk a lot, to ask questions to other people, when she meets, especially when she meets new people, don't just tell her all about you and your life and your world, but ask questions, where are you from? We do a lot of traveling, of course. And so my girls are often in situations where they're meeting new people, and, ask their name. What do they do? What do they enjoy? Whatever the questions are. And so, that my girls have gotten pretty good at that. And I think that's a really good thing for especially the big talkers, to learn to do that. But we are out of time. But we are going to be back tomorrow. We're going to continue talking about just some encouraging things that we need as mamas in this wonderful world of homeschooling. Thank you, Sherri, for joining me today. And thank you guys for joining us and listening in. If you have not yet watched Schoolhouse Rocked, the Homeschool Revolution, watch it. Go to schoolhouserocked.com. All the information you need is there on the website. And also, if you've not yet left a review for this podcast, we would really appreciate it if you would go on iTunes and leave a review. It's pretty easy. Just go to your app on your phone, click on that iTunes app, and leave a review. I'm sure you could probably do it on other apps as well, but we would really appreciate it if you would do that. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye.
In the very beginning, I had several friends that wanted me to homeschool. And frankly, they were a reason why I didn't want to homeschool, because it looked too perfect to me. Like, I would look at families on the covers of magazines and they had matching jumpers and they were all playing an instrument. And I was thinking, I can't relate to that, right? They're growing their own wheat and grinding it into flour. And I thought, that's not me. Like, I'm going to the store and, getting Wonder Bread for my kids and trying to figure out how to use my crock pot, right? And I realized very quickly that the best thing about homeschooling wasn't the fact that we had it all together. It was the fact that we were learning to live together, the fact that we were learning to grow together and learn together. And we learned through our mistakes. I want my kids to know two things when they leave my house. I want them to know that I loved them. That's the first thing I want. I don't want them to look back on their years at home and wonder if I love them. I want them to know that I love them. The second thing is that I want them to know that I trusted the Lord, that I trusted God for every decision that I made. And when I make a wrong decision, which we do as parents, and when the day goes bad, and when we burn the dinner, and when we stub our toe, and when our kids push us to the end of what we think we can do, and we say the word that we never thought we'd hear come out of our mouth, or we make a wrong decision, we have an opportunity to go back and make it right.